There's a track in Citizen Sleeper's soundtrack called Possible Futures. It's my favorite piece in the game, musically and narratively. It doesn't set the stage or accompany a vibe during the sleeper's journey. It only starts to play when Citizen Sleeper is about to roll credits. A natural endpoint after a long journey and choices made. Possible Futures thrums its deliberate notes, the last scenes play, credits roll, and you're back at the title screen. Such is the end of an interactive experience. Or maybe not. To use the stay and go vernacular, players are sent back to the title screen after a go ending and seemingly pushed back into gameplay on a stay ending. This begs us to think, what do we define as the end? Think about it. How do you segment your life? Do you segment your life? Or do you just not realize those breaks in your story while you're too busy living it? Main character energy has gotten a bad rep in the last many years with the uptick in attention-seeking and self-centered behaviors, especially on social media. But removed from the social changes that led to this term, we are all the main characters of our own story. It's the only perspective we know, the only sense of omniscience we can truly have in our lives. An awareness of ourselves, of the actions that we take in pursuit of our goals. We only truly experience our story from start to finish. We may occupy space in others' stories, guide their trajectories, or be around them for their own plot beats, but the existence of other stories does not negate our own. It's telling that Citizen Sleeper ties its endings to other characters as well. Lem and Mina's endeavors to score a spot on the side reel, Bliss's desire to see the stars off the station, or Rico's pursuit of science and knowledge. All of these trigger an ending sequence, differentiated only by the sleeper choosing to stay or go in response. The credits are not just for you, but for them as well. Regardless of your final decision as the sleeper, Lem and Mina will depart on the side reel or watch it take off. Bliss will ship off with a spacefaring crew, and Rico will have hit some new scientific milestone or tragic understanding. Their stories, in these ways, are concluding. A goal achieved or an opportunity lost, a natural break in what is to come. Roll credits. Each story for each character will continue, even without the sleeper nearby to experience it. And just because the sleeper's story is tied into others' stories does not make the sleeper's story, our story, less. Sometimes we're just in a position of relying on others, of tethering our stories to them, to their stories. And that's okay. It doesn't make for a bad story, just a different one. Thinking about our own stories, what defines them? Is it the characters, the location, the time span? What dictates an end, and for who? Many of Citizen Sleeper's endings are about that simple polarity, staying and going. The sleeper is helping all of these different people, finding new routes and avenues to escape the eye. So it must be dictated by location. Leaving the eye triggers the credits. I personally resonate with this setup. I feel a story wrapping up as I pack up my life and internally close that book as I drive to whatever new location I'm to settle into. My location has changed because of both circumstances out of my control and of my own volition. A peaceful transition to a new place on one end and a tunnel-visioned sprint elsewhere on the other. A place of peace and hope and a place of hurt and epiphany. One story ends for another to begin. Our stories are fundamentally different depending on where they're taking place, what the circumstances are of being there, who we're there with at that time. Then maybe it's in the people. Community-based as we are, we align ourselves with different people. Their own efforts at survival tie our stories with theirs. When they achieve a victory or suffer a loss, we feel that. And whether in triumph or tragedy, that story ends. Growing alongside friends and coworkers in the past, helping them in whatever way I could as they would apply to new jobs, ultimately get a job and leave for their new adventure. Or attending a friend's funeral, sudden, tinged with regret of not having done more, said more. These endings felt longer as I slowly grew accustomed to the change, to these people not being around. But our stories fundamentally change based on the characters around us, their circumstances for leaving, or how long they're with us for. Although maybe it's all about time. We chunk out our lives based on major sections. childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and so on. We graduate from grade levels and institutions, advance in our work, ultimately, hopefully, maybe, retire, all leading into one another with natural breaking points in between. I graduated from elementary school, middle school, high school, college. I transitioned into a career. I left a career. The rest is yet unwritten. Fear and anxiety mixed with potential and idealism at every turn. But these are all interspersed with each other. Different schools have different characters at different locations. New career positions, same principle. New homes dictate new friends. These elements are all interwoven with one another, sometimes dictating an ending on its own merit, sometimes in combination with others. But there isn't a single universal factor to look to in anticipation. A thing about endings is that you don't always see them coming. Another thing is that an ending isn't always capital T, capital E, the end. Our stories continue. Citizen Sleeper is a curiosity in the multiple endings discourse. I've touched on how the stay endings recognize an ending of sorts, but also put players back in to continue the natural story. Go endings put players back on the title screen, but there is nothing stopping them from continuing their game right before that story ending decision. From there, they can make a new decision, see a different story unfold. Should you stop anyway, satisfied with where you chose to end the narrative? Or do you continue? Just because you can, does that mean you should? You've chosen an ending. Would seeing what would have happened if you stayed trivialize the weight of initially choosing to go? Do we compartmentalize this one ending, this one story of the sleeper escaping the eye, and treat this new path as a new story entirely, even with the same characters, locations, and timelines? What is your definition of the story, the sleeper's story? Your story? Is it in escaping into the stars, in going? Is it in the characters you've come to know, staying with them, watching them go? Is it in the eye, staying aboard, trying to uncover all of its mysteries? How do you define something that eludes definition? Can you define it? Should you define it? Or is it better to acknowledge the nebulous nature of these endings? Accepting that they all exist simultaneously, each valid, each warranted, each resonant, impactful, and real, not in spite of one another, but because of one another. In a story where we can decide when it ends, credits or not, why wouldn't we continue when there is so much story yet ahead? What do we define as an end? What is simply a chapter break in a longer story? Where does one story stop, truly end, and its sequel begin? In short, hindsight. We don't have the luxury of credits rolling in our lives after we've made a pivotal decision or experienced a fundamental shift. We may not know that we're in a new chapter or a new story until long after we've started writing in it. That's where Citizen Sleeper shines in its multiple endings. They are not binaries or polarities, not a singular world-changing decision or moral metric presented at the end of a journey, but instead, quiet moments in time, an emotional goodbye on a new horizon, silently watching as a ship takes off into the stars, the image of the eye getting smaller as it trails behind your trajectory, a decision to stay or a desire to go. Moments of choice and decision paving way for a new page, a new chapter, a new story. We are not the main character of all stories, but we are the main character of our story. Just because part of our story ends does not mean that all our stories end. An end need not be the end. It's just one of many, many possible futures.